everybody, it's Lexi from Paro Primos, and today I am discussing the fanfic Timeless. Can I just say how much I love time travel Dramione fics? Because this one was just perfection. This one is very much inspired by The Time Traveler's Wife, which I love so much that I've never read the books, but I never read the book, but I watched the movie and I really enjoyed the movie. I definitely felt that throughout reading this, that it was a lot of things that correlated with The Time Traveler's Wife. But the difference with this one is it's like Draco, not only does he go into the future, but his future self switches with him and comes back into the past. So that's the biggest difference with this one. It's cool how it's like instead of him just going to the future, he switches places with his future self. So it starts out basically like in 2000. So like I think what Draco and Hermione, they're all like like 19 or something like that maybe. So it basically starts out with Draco is with his dad Lucius in his in Malfoy Manor, and they're basically getting rid of all of these dark artifacts that they have and sending them into the Ministry. And Draco comes across this time turner that he has, or that he finds in his possession at Malfoy Manor, where he starts to ask Lucius questions about it because he knows that all the time turners have been destroyed by the Ministry, but they just so happen to have this one. He starts to mess with it, and then as he's messing with it, it kind of like, I guess it's kind of like broken in a way. So it ends up causing this big like explosion of some kind. Next thing you know, it's Draco is 6 years in the future. He finds out that he's actually married to Hermione Granger. When he travels to 2006, he is like immediately like run into with Hermione, and Hermione like jumps on him and is just like, oh my god, I love you Draco, blah blah, and all this different stuff. He's just like, what the hell is going on? Like, what are you okay, Granger? Like, what is wrong? She's like, I love you no matter what, and just saying all these things that just make no sense to him at all. So he freaks out and runs away, and he ends up going to his flat in London and discovers Blaise there. And he's like, what are you doing in my flat? And then Blaise is like, what? Because Blaise actually lives there. And then he leaves there and then goes straight to Malfoy Manor, and he stays in his room for like an hour. And then he's transported back to his time, back into 2000. He hasn't seen her in forever, and they haven't spoken since obviously in Hogwarts, and they're not friends and stuff like that. So he's just so confused. He ends up trying to figure out why, I guess, she's involved in this scenario that he comes across. He has moments where he kind of like it's like he flickers, like he ends up being transported back into the future again, and it's like he can't control it. So and then he finally realizes that, wait a minute, he kind of has turned himself into like a human time turner, because what happened was like the time turner exploded, and then a piece of it I guess kind of like attached to him inside of him. So he had one piece of it and then a piece inside of him. So that's why he was able to kind of just transport his own self uncontrollably to the future. Since he finds out that obviously that he went to the future and saw that Hermione was there, he knows that she has something to do with what's going on. So he does come across her in certain times, and he figures out like she's starting to treat him differently, and he's just like, why is she like treating me this way? And he's just so confused, going through these situations to where like he like just looks at her like what do you want? Like she'll kind of like try to approach him, or maybe like talk to him or smile at him, whatever, because all this time as he's going into the future and going through these different scenarios and that involve like Hermione, his future self is basically courting Hermione. So it's like his future self is befriending Hermione and meeting up with her at the cafe and just basically being friends. So Hermione, during this whole time in the past, like in the 2000s, she's like confused because he treats her one way when they're out and about together, but then once she realizes that he's with other people, he acts completely different. So then she tries to make sense of it, and she sees it like, oh, so I'm only okay to hang out with when we're alone, but when we're out in public, you treat me like crap, like just like we're at Hogwarts all over again. She says this to his future self, and his future self like, no, that's not true, like I'll prove it to you. He does these things where it's like he tries to be more out in public with her, but this whole time her present Draco is like so confused, because as he's traveling back and forth and they're switching places, he's coming across her, and it's just like she's remembering certain things and seeing it a certain way, and he's just confused because obviously it wasn't him, it was his future self. So he's just like, what is going on? He goes through circumstances in the future where he starts actually catching feelings for Hermione. He denies it, and he doesn't want that to happen. His whole goal when he finds out that he's actually married to her is for him to stop it, because he's just like, this makes no sense. Or like, why is this even a thing? We don't need to be together. And so it's like his two selves are conflicting, because he has his future self trying to be with Hermione and make sure that actually goes through to plan, and his past self is trying to prevent it from happening because he's just confused and like, why is this? It makes no sense. The whole time I'm reading this, I keep thinking about the movie The Time Traveler's Wife. And if you've read or watched that film, you know that he does end up, like, spoiler if you haven't watched it, he does end up passing. The whole time reading this, I'm like, oh my god, is that where it's gonna go? Like, I have a feeling like something's gonna happen. I don't know, because it only shows him going so far as 2006. Like, his past self is not traveling past that year, and he's not sure why. They never put two and two together throughout the whole time, but they just know maybe they stopped the traveling, because at the one point, the present Draco, I guess, he starts to actually befriend Hermione as this whole process goes, and she actually ends up helping him to try and figure out, because he ends up trusting her and telling her what's going on and why maybe he looks different. And then she's realizing, oh, so I'm not even talking to you, I've been actually befriending the future you. So then everything starts to make sense, and so she agrees to help him to try and figure out how to stop all this from happening, and to help him to stop, because he can't control it. He just travels out of nowhere. They kind of keep track of the timeline of him every time he travels, like, to see if they can kind of fix it and stop it from happening. But as it progresses in the story, they do end up falling in love. They actually it's like more of enemies to friends to lovers. It's that kind of like pattern. They end up being friends, and then as they start to fall in love with each other, then they start realizing, wait a minute, if we do end up stopping this could actually mess up everything else. And they figure out the whole butterfly effect. And if they change one certain thing, that might change drastically something else, and then they might not even end up together or anything. They might not even be friends anymore. So then they start getting scared of how that could even be possible. They stop their research and they're like, okay, let's just see what happens. They go through all that, and you're like kind of following the story from the beginning, right? Like his past self. And as it gets to his future self, there's parts in the story that his future self, when they go to the past, you're seeing that story that you miss in the beginning. It's cool how the author did that. So it was like you're seeing things that happened in the future for the past Draco, but then as it later goes on, you're seeing the future Draco and what happened in the past, and how everything just kind of makes sense and it comes all back around. And they do a really good job of like not getting you confused, because I know you could easily get confused with all these like different time jumps in the years and who, but they do a really good job of like saying how they're gonna do it in the beginning. Like, oh, they'll put this is like Draco from this year, or present time would be, let's say, October of 2004, and it'll be like Draco from 2000 or something. Like it'll show like that, like what's present year that you're in right now, what Draco is in that year. So they did a good job with kind of having you bounce, following the bouncing ball to be able to figure it out. It was very easy to follow. So I really appreciated that part. I kind of liked how it was left up in the air if it was going to be a happy ending or not. If you don't want to know, don't listen. But yeah, it is a happily ever after. So if you are one of those people who just need to know, I kind of like the surprise. I don't like really being told too much if it's a happy ever after. Like with this one, I really didn't know if it was or not. I didn't look it up either. I don't think I even saw the tags saying it. Like I didn't really care to see all that. But the author does include in here that there will be a happy ending, even though you're gonna go through hell to get there, which I appreciated that too. Like it still, like even though you knew it was gonna be a happy ending, it went through times where it's like, how is it gonna be a happy ending? Because what's happening right now? And you kind of like, okay, I feel like I'm gonna cry. But I feel like since I was told by the author in the notes, like it's gonna be a happy ending, I didn't really cry. I had moments of like being choked up, but I feel like if I wouldn't have known it was a happy ever after, I would have probably cried. Because I really like it left it up for anticipation. Like, oh my god, is it gonna happen? Is he gonna, like, you just really don't know. So they do find out the time jumps stop in 2006 because Draco does die. When they find that out, they try to figure out how they can prevent that from happening. So the whole time you have Hermione and Draco trying to figure out ways to stop that from happening, but also not affecting their life. Because if they stop the time jumps, again, the butterfly effect, it'll change everything. And they've affected so many people in their lives in this story, or in this story with their friends, and helping like Harry with Ginny, because Harry and Ginny were having issues, and Draco had played a big part in helping with their relationship, because Draco actually really got close with Harry in this one. I really like how everybody was kind of like, you know, they built a friendship all based around their relationship. I like how that they did all that. Even when it came to Blaze is with Daphne in this one, and that only happens later on in the story, also because of Draco and Hermione. Like everything really revolved around them two together, and if them two never happened, then there's so many things that could have just been gone so many different ways. Theo and Draco's relationship wouldn't have gotten to where it went if their relationship didn't start. He might have even still been with Astoria, because in the beginning of this, he's Draco's with Astoria, and he's trying to stay with the pure blood the way it was meant to be, to where they're supposed to be together, and sticking to that. So that was the whole thing too in the beginning, because Draco was confused because Astoria was his girlfriend and he was planning on marrying her, and so seeing in the future Hermione being his wife, he's like, what the hell, that doesn't even make sense. Even Astoria being in here, you actually like her in this one too, because I feel like they always show her to where when she's with Draco, and it ends up being ugly bad at the end, but no, she actually is really a good character in this one. And in this one too, Hermione's also with Ron. So in the beginning of this whole story, Ron and Hermione are together, and Draco and Astoria together. And what's funny is too that with the future Draco who comes to the past, tries to talk to Hermione, he tries to figure out why are you with Ron? Like, you don't seem like you should be with Ron. Like, you could do so much better. Like, he's saying all this stuff to her, and she's like, what is your problem? Who do you think you are to just sit there and like tell me who I should and shouldn't be with? Like, you have no place. And it's funny because obviously he's just like, because that's his wife. Like that will be his wife. But this one is a really good read. I really I recommend this one. It is, of course, like I said, happy ever after at the end. I just love these freaking time travel fics. I feel like those are like tough to write, like to kind of keep track and not kind of confuse your own self when you're writing these. So I think the author was saying that on there they had to kind of write like a timeline of everything to even keep track of how to write it, and they did a really good job. So if you want to read a Dramione time travel one, this is a really good one to read. And if you really enjoyed The Time Traveler's Wife and you love Dramione, then this one you'd be really enjoy. Oh, and one thing I did like about this one too, the author included like poems in the beginning of like each chapter, and it kind of like correlated with what was going to go on in the chapter, and I really liked it a lot. And the poems that they had were really beautiful. It was from this author, like, there was the same author for each one, and I can't remember the name. Langleave. Yeah, they included like really like beautiful poems, and I thought that was a nice touch to add to this, because especially because, you know, in this one they have Hermione refers back to a lot of poetry and stuff when she talks about how she feels, and especially towards Draco and stuff. So I thought that was a nice touch. Oh, and something that was interesting with this one too is this one had a lot of twists. Like, you thought it was going one way with something, and then it was like, wait, so that's not what we thought. And then it kind of like takes you to another path, and then you go to the end of this path and you're like, well, wait a minute, this isn't actually where we're supposed to be going. Let's take you on this different path. And this is like, wait, what? So I really enjoyed that too. I love twists in these fanfics, and this one had a lot of good twists because you were really thinking one way with the two characters, with Hermione and Draco thinking one way about something, and they end up finding out, wait a minute. So it's like I didn't anticipate. I never caught on like quick. Like, I feel like I was surprised. I was definitely surprised with certain things, like, and then it pulled me it pulled me one way. Like, I don't want to spoil things, so I'm like, it pulled me one way, and it kind of looked like with something with Narcissa did something, and I was just like, ew. Like, why? And I'm like, gross. And then it kind of showed you a different part of that story. Like, you saw one perspective, and then it showed you the full thing, and you're like, oh. So it's like, see, that's why it's like, it's better to get the full story than just one perspective, because then it's like, okay, now it makes sense. Now you get it. This one had a lot of those. So if you enjoy those, this was definitely a good one that had those little twists, and those pulls you so many different directions. And you're just like, oh, but I thought I was going in this path, but I guess you're not going in that path, you're going a different path. And Lucius was actually like portrayed as the one at fault for a lot of things, but he surprises you at the end. Kind of like turns out to be like accepting more and kind of turning over a new leaf. So that was a cool way of portraying him in this, because I feel like a lot of ones I read, he's He's not changed his ways, and he's gonna stick to what he knows, what he likes. That's it. This one, it was like, okay, he was more pleasant in this one. I think that was it for this one, but I will be in my next fic soon. I'm not really even sure which one I'm gonna read next. I feel like I wanted to read Meet Me in Dreamland or this. No, there's this one that I found out that I actually like. I did a video on TikTok and somebody said it reminded them of this fic, and I'm like, see, this is why I like doing these TikToks, because then people will recommend not knowing that they're recommending something for me to read that I never even knew about. So there's this one that I heard, and this is actually a real popular one because it says it has like 1 million hits. I was like, how did I never hear about this one? But it's called On the Nature of Daylight. So I might actually be reading this one next because I'm really curious about this one. They did say that it's amazing, but be warned, he's highly toxic in this one. So I'm like, okay, I like toxic Draco. So that might be my next read. I'll be reporting back with hopefully that one if I don't change my mind, but I'm thinking it's gonna be that one next. But I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys next time, and let me know if there's any recommendations of other Dramione fanfics that I have not read or have not talked about that you think I would like, that I would, I could possibly read or add to my TBR. I have a lot on my TBR already, but I love adding more because I will be reading these until the end of time. I will see you guys next time. Bye.